All right, let's go ahead and get started, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are this morning. For me, I'd like to welcome you to today's CA7 webcast. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Len Thompson, and I am Broadcom's mainframe community manager. Again, welcome to today's session. Before I hand you off to Jen and Mark, just want to let you know that we are recording today's session, which is why you're all currently on mute. If you do have questions along the way, and we sincerely hope that you will, please use the questions box along the right side of your screen, and we'll get through as many of those as we can. Just type them in there, and I will read them to our presenters. And depending on how much time we have at the end, I can also let you know how you can have your line unmuted if you prefer to ask your questions that way. The recording for today's session will be posted out in the CA7 community either later today or later this week. And the last thing from me is that we are always trying to make sure that these sessions are valuable to you. With that in mind, I have a quick survey that will pop up at the end. We'd really appreciate just a little bit of your little bit more of your time to give us some feedback so we can make sure that we make the next one even better. And with that out of the way, I'm going to hand you off to Mark, who's going to kick us off today. So take it away, Mark.
Thank you, Lynn. Again, this is Mark Warren, and today we're going to talk a little bit about SLA management around CA7 and the Automic new solution that we purchased, intelligence. So we're going to go through on the agenda today the introduction, the platform, the benefits, and use cases around that solution. So some of you may have known the tool as Jen will walk us through it as jobs. So let's talk about the introduction here. Jennifer Chesnick is the product management for the Automation Enterprise Division, and I've attached her email address. And I know many of you. My name is Mark Warren, product management on the mainframe. I've spoken with many of you many times, and be glad to answer any questions, concerns that you may have, and so forth. But at the same token, if you would like a live demo of this, either reach out to Jennifer or myself, or your local sales team, and we can make that happen. So as we go through this, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat or in the questions within the presentation itself, or some do not like to speak or ask questions during the presentation. You can email Jennifer or myself directly. But at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jen so we can get started. She's got a full slate ahead of us. So it's yours, Jen.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Len. Hello, everyone. It's really nice to be here with you all today, and really excited to give you a glimpse into the Automic Automation Intelligence Platform. So since the acquisition of Terma Software, the Terma product offerings have all been combined into a single offering called Automic Automation Intelligence, and it's the platform provides some high-level benefits, and we'll drill into these over the course of this hour. So it's primarily a analytics platform providing both predictive analytics as well as historical analytics through reporting. It's the only cross-platform, cross-vendor solution which provides a single pane of glass across multiple vendors and multiple platforms. So I'm assuming most of the folks that are on the call today or that are listening to this particular recording are CA7 users. So if you have within your CA7 environment other workload automation engines, such as maybe AutoSys on the distributed side, or even solutions that are different, are owned by different vendors, we can offer cross-scheduler dependencies and views across the platform. And again, we'll see more about that throughout the presentation. It's a mature product that's been in the market for over 15 years and has a large number of Fortune 500 clients that are using it. So these are the schedulers that we are currently supporting. So under the Broadcom umbrella, we support CA7 and AutoSys, like I mentioned. We also support JobTrack and we are in development on supporting ESP, also on the mainframe, and the Automic workload automation engine. In addition, we do support IBM's both mainframe and distributed IWS products, and Tidal Enterprise Scheduler as well. So I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of the platform as a whole. So probably the most used feature, and what is the title of this particular webinar, is that we can predict the impact of workload processing issues to critical SLAs. So we provide the ability to define SLAs. We create default SLAs based upon historical patterns of particular jobs in your environment that might have an SLA associated with them, and then we'll monitor the streams leading up to those SLAs and can alert predictively if we anticipate that there's going to be a breach of a particular SLA. So that has the effect of the second bullet point here, which is reducing alert storms, because what we're able to do is only alert if you're in jeopardy of missing an SLA. So instead of alerting when any individual job runs longer, we will only alert if a job runs longer to an extent that it will jeopardize an SLA. So if you have headroom in your SLA, we'll give you a little headroom in your job durations in order to, as long as it's not going to violate your SLA, we won't send an alert. So that makes the alerts fewer and more valuable when they do occur. We also do have the ability to create these cross-scheduler, cross-platform dependencies, and that's another real highlight of the platform, is that we can create dependencies or visualize dependencies between jobs where the dependencies exist, but they don't exist in any job definition. So an example of this is if you have a CA7 job, or let's say you have an AutoSys job that does a file transfer and creates a data set in CA7, and that data set then triggers a workflow to occur on CA7. So that definition doesn't exist anywhere. It's just managed through the file transfer protocol. So neither scheduler know about it explicitly, but yet it is a critical part of the workflow. So we're able to create that link so that if anything on the distributed side that leads up to that file transfer is delayed, we will then show the impact on the mainframe, that you're in jeopardy of missing your SLA on your mainframe because your distributed side is running behind. And we do that across platforms and also across vendors. Another key benefit of the platform is the ability to have an easy to consume user interface, which can be distributed to the business teams, allowing them to have self-service, and also customizable dashboards, which you'll see a little bit more about. We're going to get into a lot of this in more detail as the presentation goes on. So some of the other features are the workload-specific reporting. We do have a data warehouse where we house a large repository. You can keep as much historical data as you like. So you might want to keep a year or two worth of historical workload data, which you can then report on. And another feature is that we're starting to release in February, our first release of our simulation and modeling capabilities, where you can actually model changes to your workload prior to moving them into production, and to see if those changes will have an impact on your SLAs. And again, we're going to talk more about that later. And we also have another area that we're releasing in February, which is related to being able to model business applications. So not just job streams, but actual business applications that may cross multiple job streams on multiple platforms. this is in a feature called Application Landscape, which we'll be taking a look at. And lastly, on our select benefits is the ability to integrate the analytics that we provide into existing portals that you may already have. So to get into some of these benefits a little bit more deeply, let's talk about the SLA management and the predictions. So what you're seeing here is a screenshot of one of the user interfaces where you can see on the left a job stream that is being monitored. So you're seeing the job that's actually selected in that screenshot is what we call the target job. This is the job that you may have an SLA against. And by establishing that target job, we automatically discover all of the jobs that are upstream of that and create a job stream from it. So you don't need to specify which jobs are in your job stream. We discover them via the dependencies that are defined. And then there is, you'll notice, a red dashed vertical line on the Gantt chart there, and that is the SLA. So that can be established by the end user, and we will monitor towards that SLA. So in this screenshot that you're seeing, there's kind of a solid vertical line that's going down the middle of the screen. That is representing right now. So everything to the left is an actual job that finished, and everything to the right is a prediction. So as soon as we predict that your target job is going to finish past your SLA, that will be the condition that can generate an alert. So so that's a powerful feature where you can be notified hours ahead of time that you're in jeopardy of missing your SLA. We also have a host of reports that are available to track your SLAs over time, etc. The customizable dashboards are available in our web UI, which allows you to create various types of analytics and customize them to your own needs. So you can create your own views with widgets in them that have the analytics that you're interested in. The types of analytics that you can put in your customized views are job-based monitoring. So you can use the advanced filtering to create views of your jobs based on any filter criteria. So any job property that you have, maybe you want to see all of the jobs that are scheduled to run on a particular machine. You know, if you're using the CA7 distributed agents, you can see what distributed agents certain jobs are scheduled to run on and do a filter just based on that. Or you can also, you know, one of the most common ways to filter is just based on job name. You may want to find all of your job names that end with a certain suffix or start with a certain prefix. And what's really nice about this is that the filtering is cross-platform, cross-vendor. So you can have a filter that includes both CA7 jobs and AutoSys jobs, for example, or any other scheduler in a single view that you can monitor. We also do job level forecasting. So in addition to seeing the current status of those jobs, you can also create the same type of filter, but say I want to see for all of the jobs that start with a certain prefix, when are they going to run in the next hour or in the next 2 hours? In the next 2 hours, you can specify the time window for a forecast. So we do scheduler-wide forecasts of your entire CA7 instance. And we also have panels or widgets that you can configure to show your machine utilization to see which of your distributed machines are the most heavily loaded and which jobs are running on those machines. In addition, we have a full BI reporting engine that's embedded into the platform. So as part of the architecture, what we're doing is we're taking job definitions from the underlying workload engines, CA7 included, and we are we're putting those into our own data warehouse and then tracking all of the event data for all of the jobs, meaning when does the job start and when does it end, and with what status does it complete with. And we maintain that historically. So you end up building a very powerful data warehouse where you can have a year or two worth of data. That data then is available to you through our BI reporting engine to report on in any way that you like. We have a host of predefined reports that you can configure and filter however you would like. And then you also have the ability to create your own custom reports against our data warehouse to get information that maybe we don't have a report already defined for, but that we do have data in our data warehouse for. You can actually combine the data in our data warehouse with other data that you have elsewhere and build your own reports that are then surfaced through our user interface. The reports can all be scheduled and they can be output in various formats, PDF, Excel, etc. A new area that we are just surfacing for the first time at the end of February, which will become upcoming in our 6.0 release, is what we call application landscape. And application landscape is it's designed to solve the fundamental problem that business applications can cross schedulers, applications, and platforms with no defined dependencies. So you may have, from a business point of view, a business application such as a pricing application. And that pricing application really consists of a host of different applications. Some of them might be running in the distributed environment, and some of them might be running on the mainframe, or they're just running all on the mainframe, but disconnected. They may not have dependencies. It's an aggregation of either jobs or job streams that all represent a certain business application. You can now group them together, model it as an application, and create dependencies between that application and other applications, and then all of the features of SLA management and alerting are now available at the business application level. So this is really a way to elevate your workload to your business users so that they can track the processing from from a much higher level from a business perspective. From these large business application blocks, you can drill down and see the details. If you do want to get to the individual jobs, you have the ability to drill in and monitor them. But ideally, you're just monitoring your applications through this higher level business view. And that's the application landscape feature. This is the next slide here, which is the workload DevOps simulation and modeling slide. This is also being just the previewed. I would say, well, it's actually available, but it's only available for AutoSys. So I kept the slide in here for this presentation because this will become available for CA7 as well. And it does today have an impact on CA7 if you have AutoSys to CA7 dependencies. So what this simulation and modeling platform is designed to do is allow you to bring in your job definitions that you're planning to move into production prior to actually moving them into production, by bringing in just the job definition language that tells us what jobs you're planning, what the dependencies are, and we will combine those job definitions with what is currently running in production and simulate a batch run and let you know if the proposed changes will result in the violation of any SLAs. So it's a way to preemptively simulate your batch changes. It's really powerful. The one thing that we allow in this is for you to provide to us the anticipated duration of any new jobs that you're putting in. So if you're putting in a new accounting application, for example, and it is comprised of 50 jobs, 50 brand new jobs, and maybe you're also changing dependencies on existing jobs, deleting some jobs, etc. For the new jobs, or even for the existing jobs, you can feed in what the anticipated duration of those new jobs is, which allows us to then simulate, well, if those jobs exist with those dependencies and they run for this amount of time, they will have either a positive or a negative effect on existing SLAs. So it's a really exciting new area that we're getting into, and we will be supporting CA7 with this in an upcoming release. For now, if you have a AutoSys job that is a predecessor to a CA7 job, we will be able to simulate that as it is today. This is a screenshot to give you an example of what we can provide with a single pane of glass that's crossing multiple schedulers. So this job stream that you're looking at, that we're calling process trades end-to-end, is an actual job stream that is going from the AutoSys platform to the CA7 platform. So you're seeing a target job here, which happens to be a CA7 job. You can see it's a cryptic 8-character name with a SCED ID followed by a SCED ID. And by specifying this as the target job, we were automatically able to discover all of the upstream dependencies to that target job. Some of those upstream dependencies you will see here are actually AutoSys jobs. So this is an example of the cross-platform capabilities. So the way that this job stream actually executes is that a box in AutoSys kicks off, runs several jobs. The last job in that box is a transfer job. That transfer job transfers a data set to the mainframe, which you can see right here in the upper portion of the screen. This is the name of the data set. So that arrived, you can see, just after 7 a.m. That data set triggered the subsequent jobs in CA7 to run. And in this case, the red line here is the SLA. So you can see that it, in fact, breached its SLA on this particular day. You're also seeing graphs up here on the top portion of the screen that show you the machine usage. This happens to be the machine that the distributed jobs were running on. If the mainframe jobs were running on distributed agents, those machines would show up as well. So this represents CA7 to AutoSys. Other schedulers work the same way. Another feature of the platform that is useful is that you can bring into the platform other external applications. So this is an example where you'll see that there's this is a bunch of jobs. They could be mainframe jobs. They happen to be distributed, but they could be mainframe jobs. And then there's this box in the middle where it says I deliver file transfer. This I deliver is actually an external application. It's not a job that exists within any scheduler. It's an external application. So through our REST API, you're able to bring in data from other external applications and model it as part of your batch workflow. So in reality, what's happening here is that there's a set of jobs that are running. That last job then triggers an external application, which may run, it may run many of its own jobs, and there's really no visibility into that. And then when that process completes, it then kicks off another distributed process. So through the API, we're able to bring in that external application so you don't lose visibility when the workload goes outside of the scheduler into an external application. You can track your dependencies across those applications. This is accomplished through the REST API framework. So we have a very full-featured programming interface into the platform via REST API. You can publish, or you can subscribe to predictions and other events that are happening in the platform, and we will automatically publish data related to whatever you subscribe to via an HTTP post request. So this can be useful if you want to surface some of our predictions, alerts, etc., in your own user interfaces that you might be developing in-house. Basically, everything that you can do through our user interface, you can also do through the REST API, and you also have the ability in the REST API to create these external applications like I was talking about. So we have one client that actually has an entire scheduling, in-house developed scheduler on the mainframe. So in addition to using AutoSys on the distributed side and CA7 on the mainframe, they also have their own mainframe scheduler. So using our REST API, they were able to add that scheduler into the platform and model it and track SLAs against it like any other scheduler. This screenshot is showing happens to show cross-scheduler dependencies between AutoSys and IWS Z on the mainframe. I won't spend too much time on this because this isn't an AutoSys crowd. A couple of use cases that I wanted to highlight, and we talked about this a little bit with the simulation and modeling, is that the way that the simulation and modeling feature, I talked about it a little bit already, works is that the Automic Automation Intelligence Engine is sitting separate and distinct from your scheduling engines. This particular diagram shows AutoSys. We will be adding CA7 to this model as well. And so the AutoSys production and the CA7 production will feed into the Automic Automation Intelligence Engine. And then we can combine that information, which is all of the job definitions that are currently in production, with proposed changes that are fed in through a file, and then do our validation. So that's just another diagram that explains how that simulation and modeling process will work. There's a lot of features and functions that are built into the platform that really will help with reducing critical batch duration. So this is for batch optimization efforts. We have a host of analytics that can help you understand where your bottlenecks are in your batch. We trace the critical path through your batch and help you figure out where you might have design delays or resource delays. So for example, you may have a situation where in your CA7 environment, you have a job that is in your critical path and it can't run because it's waiting for a virtual resource to free up. Well, we will be able to detect that and tell you how much time is spent in waiting for that resource to free up, and even historically over time, how much time has been spent waiting for that resource to free up, and what effect it's having on your critical SLAs. So there's a lot of in-depth, detailed analytics that can help you with optimizing your batch. You know, because inevitably these large CA7 environments with tens or hundreds of thousands of jobs in them, it's difficult to understand all of the dependencies and where the bottlenecks are. So by establishing the critical path, that's the first step in really being able to optimize your batch. So the critical path, as we're defining it here, is the critical path to your critical SLAs. So it's the kind of the bottlenecks that are leading up to your SLAs. And just by establishing the critical path, we are allowing you to focus on the areas of the batch that are the most important if you are planning on trying to optimize your batch processing. The last bullet point here is worth mentioning, identify design delays. Sometimes there are actually delays that are designed into your batch that you may not be aware of, because these critical streams have been in place for years and years, and at some point somebody may have put a hard start time on a job in the middle of a critical batch, and now that job, although all of its requirements have been met, its predecessors have completed, its triggers have triggered, it may still be waiting for a hard start time. So that time between when all of the requirements have been met for a job to start and when it actually starts due to a hard start time is a design delay. It's a delay that's actually designed into the batch because of that hard start time. So oftentimes there's a good reason for that, and oftentimes there's not. So we are able to detect that type of delay and report on it, bring it to your attention so that you can at least evaluate if that's a valid design consideration in your environment or not. And that is the end of the presentation for today. I would be happy to take any questions. I just wanted to give everybody a preview of the environment. We are happy to do a full demo of the platform. Again, you can email me or Mark if you would like to see more details about the platform. But for now, I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Jen. I don't see any questions in the questions box right now, but folks, please do ask some questions if you would like. Also, if you would like to have your phone unmuted so you can ask that way, there's a way to raise your hand virtually right in the GoToWebinar. So if you do that, I can unmute your line as well. We'll give everyone a moment to either type. All right, hold on. We do have one question on the phone. Go ahead, Fawn. You're unmuted.
I was wondering if this replaced the critical path monitoring in CA7, or is this a plus with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. This is really in addition to what's currently available in CA7. We actually are planning on this year. I didn't really bring this up in the slides, but we will be using the job flow monitor API-based APIs to feed this data in. So it will coexist with what's currently on the mainframe, but it does provide additional functionality such as the cross-scheduler dependencies and a lot of the other features and functions that I mentioned today.
So if I was looking at implementing critical path monitoring, I should look at this instead?
I think that you should look at this instead, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we do have one question that came in the questions box. Does the Automic solution come with CA7, or is it a separate product that must be purchased?
It's a separate product. Yeah, it's a separate product. It would be part of a PLA for clients that are using the PLA model, and otherwise it's a separate product.
Thanks, Jen. Any other questions, folks? While you have the chance to type, just want to remind you once again that we do have a survey that's going to pop up at the end. There's also an opportunity to ask a follow-up question there as well if you think of something after the fact. New question came in. Does the Automic solution work with Control M?
That's a good question. We are planning on supporting Control M this year. It's on our immediate roadmap to support Control M. Today it does not, but we have many clients that are using Control M in addition to Broadcom products, and are planning on adding that support.
Great, thanks. Next question. Does this replace iDash?
Yeah. So to answer that question, it can, but iDash will continue forward. We're going to continue developing and enhancing as we proceed forward.
Thanks, Mark. Next question. For cross-scheduler SLAs, would you need to manually add any type of job links?
That's a very good question. So we have, it's not a simple answer. The way we've implemented this in the past is by, if there's anything that can be ascertained by the job definitions themselves. So for example, we do have some clients that are using this where they have a convention, a naming convention for their jobs, where the distributed job would reference the name of the job that that's calling it from the mainframe as part of the job name. Or if there's any way to annotate in the job definition itself, in any field, the description field, a custom field, any property of the jobs where you can create a reference from one job to another, then we're able to automatically create the links and maintain the links. So if they change, we'll detect those changes and maintain those links that way. So that's the way it's done today. You can also just manually do it. If you know one job triggers another, you can manually create this custom link. But for a large scale enterprise solution, typically the way that it's done is by coming up with a convention in the job definitions that link them to one another, and that allows us to trace them. One of the areas that we're looking at in our roadmap, probably for 2021, is to do some AI machine learning algorithms that will automatically detect these cross-scheduler dependencies. So they'll be able to determine that we've noticed, for example, that every time this CA7 job finishes, within 2 seconds, this other AutoSys job starts. Therefore, we believe there's a dependency. Would you like us to instantiate that as a dependency for you? So kind of an automatic dependency finder is certainly something that we are actively working on right now. So I apologize for the long-winded answer, but it's a bit of a complicated question.
Thanks, Jen. Next question. Do you have a timeline when this will be working with Automic workload automate? Oh, Automic, in parentheses, Automic workload.
Yes, that's the very first connector that we are building now that we're part of Broadcom. Development is underway, and we will be able to start to beta it, and we actually are interested in beta customers, if you're interested, in the first half of this year.
Great, thank you. And if you are interested in being a beta customer, you can also you can mention that in the survey that will pop up at the end of the session. Do we have any other questions for Mark or for Jennifer today? All right, I think we can probably go ahead and wrap up then. Mark and Jen, thank you very much for your time today. And to those of you who joined us, we know how busy we all are, so we really appreciate you joining us, and we will see you out in the community next time. Thanks very much.